Premier League, say we are Premier League. We are Premier League, say we are Premier League. We are Premier League, say we are Premier League. We are Premier League, say we are Premier League.
Welcome to this week's edition of Life's a Pitch TV, our first in the Premier League. Can't get used to saying that. It's fantastic, isn't it? Welcome to the show. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on podcast, you're most welcome to this week's edition of Life's a Pitch TV. As I said, our first one in the Premier League. Let's thank our sponsors for getting us onto air every week. Our main sponsor is DPS Tech. A big thank you also to All About Hearing, marketing company Ginger Pickle, Forward Floors, Come Hither Design, the Hudson Group, Sound 4 Pro Audio, Venue 16, Fred Olsen Logistics, John Keeble Cars in Bramford, The Dove in Ipswich plus Ashford Wright, and The Sofa is sponsored by DPS Tech. No Terry Butcher this week. He's a little poorly today, so I hope you're feeling better soon, Terry. But we do have Russell Osman. And that's just quite cosy, this, isn't it?
It is. There was the other fella.
I don't know.
Mr. Butcher, yeah.
Yeah.
Shame he's feeling a bit poor, isn't it?
He'll be fitting well for our big dinner next Monday. Who's got tickets for that? Yay! Good, because it's a sellout, everybody. So you're too late if you haven't got them. Phil's here from twtd.co.uk. And we've got Mark and Richard on technicals today. And Leslie Dolphin is our floor manager in charge of door over there today. And you are our capacity crowd. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Wow, so much to talk about. What a weekend. I don't know about you, but I've got hardly any voice left.
It was quite an emotional weekend, Mark,
wasn't it? Yeah.
You know, I mean, Saturday was fantastic, the way everything went, and then the celebrations. I think I dropped somebody off at the pub at about 20 to 10 in the morning, and it was already packed, and called back in there after the match, and it was packed again and emotionally draining. Sunday morning, I felt really tired, but very happy. Honestly, just tired.
Nothing to do with drinking the pubs dry then, which actually happened, didn't it? We drank the pubs dry.
Yeah, great stuff.
Fantastic.
Great.
Amazing weekend. Well, we're going to share it now with our special guest this week. He knows what it's like to win promotion to the Premier League. He's had success this weekend. Capacity crowd, give it up for Super Jim Magilton!
Good evening, lads.
Super Jim Magilton.
Brilliant. Welcome to the show, Jim, and a double celebration for us and for you at the weekend. Tell everybody what happened to you.
Yeah, we were playing in a cup final, the Irish Cup final, of which Cliftonville have not won in 45 years, and we're playing against the top side, managed by an ex-Ipswich Towns player in David Healy, and we managed to win the game 3-1 after extra time. So huge day for the club, huge day for the players, huge day for the supporters. So fantastic. And if Carlsberg were going to do weekends, which actually they did, Ipswich getting promotion, and obviously a birthday, which we won't talk too much about. But yeah, what a weekend it was.
Yeah, happy birthday. Happy birthday,
Jim.
And congratulations, Cliftonville.
Do you know what? I thought Ipswich fans had to wait a long time for success, but 45 years.
I know. Amazing. And for whatever reasons, there've been to many finals and just haven't got over the line. And they all thought there was a bit of a hoodoo over it and whatever else. But with this team and this group of players, especially when I took the job initially, I just felt they were more than capable, and which proved to be the case. So, yeah, huge celebrations, great joy and happiness to the people of North Belfast. So, absolutely delighted.
Fantastic. And were you following what was going on here in Suffolk?
It was the first thing I asked when I was interviewed after the game. How did they get on? And obviously, just the emotion. You know, I've experienced it. I know what it feels like. I know how much it means to the fans. It was just fantastic, just unbelievable. Like, this boy can do no wrong. He's starting to bug me now. He really is starting to annoy me. Yeah, you know, even his pre-game analysis and post-game analysis, nobody can disagree with him. And he says it in this lovely Fermanagh accent. You know, you're just waiting for him to burst into song whilst he's doing it. And he's probably a brilliant singer. But even if he's not a brilliant singer, he has Ed Sheeran on speed day. Do you know, so Ed, can you just sing this for me? He's just boring the living daylights out of me now.
Well, I'll tell you what, you may or may not know this, but there was a little bit of rubbish left behind in Christchurch Park after the celebrations. And guess who went to help clear it up? Kieran McKenna.
Yeah, I saw that. He's just, you know, he's a geek. No, he's an incredible man, isn't he? You know, what a job he's done. Back-to-back promotions. It's quite incredible.
You're a big fan of his, aren't you?
I am. I'm a great admirer. I saw greatness, if you like, and you don't use that term loosely in the modern game, but when I was around him, not only did he have great knowledge, and he was still a young, that's 10 years ago maybe, great knowledge, but it was his meticulous planning. It was the way he spoke about the game, and then more importantly, it's how he delivered it to the players for them to understand it, which at times can be quite difficult. You know, we players aren't the brightest. Well, I've played with a few that aren't the brightest, but yeah, he has this wonderful way with people, with players, and he takes that responsibility so well. You know, so he conducts himself so well as on top of everything else.
You agree with that, Russ, don't you? 100%.
Very much so, yeah. His relationship with his players is second to none, really, because it's all right. But back in our day, or when me and Terry played, your squad wasn't that big. Now, when you've got to try and keep one of today's squads, which might be 30-odd players, and you've got to try and keep everybody happy, your man management skills have got to be really, really sharp. It's really got to be honed into each and every one, the needs of those players, to keep them at their peak, ready for when you need them. And that's something aside from his coaching skills. So he's got his coaching skills, and we all know about that, but his man management skills and how he controls the rest of his staff to make sure that none of his other staff are upsetting any of the players. They're following the lead that he sets. So he sets the agenda there, the staff follow it out, and his players all benefit from it. And every player that's come under the wing of Kieran McKenna and his staff has improved. And they've got better, and that's a fantastic thing to have from your manager, your head coach, whatever title he wants. Whatever title he wants, he can have, Jim, can't he? You know?
Yeah. Sir? Yeah. But it's Russell, it's his composure, do you know, as well, which is quite striking. He doesn't overreact. He doesn't get too carried away. There's a level keel, doesn't get over emotional. We know the championship provides a roller coaster.
A bit like yourself then, Jim, is he?
No, 100%. 100%. You learn with the age, as you well know, Russell.
You taught him well.
Yeah. No, it's his level of composure and the quality that he provides. And as I say, just his assessments of his team. I've listened a lot to what he has to say, and you know, you're in total agreement. You're actually nodding your head at the TV, which, you know, that is developed. Obviously, he's worked with great managers too, but to come from an academy background, if you like, and be pushed into a first team environment, especially at the club he was pushed into, you know, he has to learn very quickly. I'm sure there was criticism being pushed. There was some criticism being pushed at him and Carrick and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when they took over. But do you know what? He has learned a great deal and stepped into this role so quickly and so
Jim,
effectively.
Yeah, ex-players that go into management like yourself, you take the best from the managers that you've played under, or the best that the coaches that you've played under have had to offer. So any player in that Ipswich Town squad at the moment takes on a Luco, for example. He might be moving into coaching, but what a great manager to learn from. What a great head coach to learn not your tactical awareness only, but how to conduct yourself on a day-to-day basis around, a big group of players.
Well, it's so important in this day and age, in this media world, Jim, isn't it? You know, the spotlight's on you all the time, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. It's vitally important as the leader of the football club to portray that, and I think he's done that so well. There is a standard at the football club. There always has been. It is, one of the most traditional football clubs in the country. If you think of the managers, the great managers that have been at the helm, you think of two England managers, Sir Alf, Sir Bobby. You think even a mayor with George and Joe. They were conducted themselves so well. Fantastic people. They all had wonderful qualities. Obviously, I didn't know Sir Alf, but I knew Sir Bobby briefly. Obviously, worked under Joe and George, two fantastic people, and loved it. But it's the club, and when he got the job, he just fitted the profile of football club. I knew he'd be a huge success. I'm not sitting here after the fact, but I just knew that it was a great fit, and given time, he would establish himself as a top manager.
I think even he is surprised at how quick it's happened, though.
Yeah, listen, jumping from one league into another is very difficult, as we all know. To do what he's did, and obviously momentum's important. You get off to a winning start, confidence flows from players, and momentum's very hard to stop, both good and bad. But he got on this wonderful roll. Players started believing in themselves. They started winning games of football. And when you're up there, you don't want to stop from being up there. I know they had a wobble. But again, it's very important that the leader keeps calm, keeps delivering the same messages. Sometimes you can get a little bit carried away with yourself. You can start relaying messages via media, social media, TV now, and it confuses players. But he was very consistent in his messages.
It very much reminded me, the team that's just gone up, very much reminded me of your team that went up in 2000. You were a really strong unit, weren't you? And then in the Premier League, that first season was phenomenal. And I looked at that and I thought, you know what, I can see echoes of that, which is why I'm very proud to say, sitting here very smugly, I said on the very first Lives to Pitch TV, when Connor Chaplin sat over there, we're going to finish top 2. Get in! Get in! Come on, who believed me? Yes! Top 2.
You obviously have been drinking heavily that weekend.
Did you put
well, I do think I can see why you're making comparisons based on momentum and based on winning. I think I was always confident technically we had a team of footballers, and knew technically we'd be okay in the league. And that's saying something. But I think George had created that sort of and built that sort of team. Technically, we were very astute in terms of everybody understood the role and responsibility within the team. We had a certain way of wanting to play, and we adjusted the system. It was always just a physical and mental aspect of it. Physically, could we deal with it? And mentally, could we deal with defeats? We knew we were going to lose games, but it was always how we were going to bounce back. So we got off to that wonderful start and kept it going. And listen, we had a lot of good players.
Well, it was a magnificent era, and we'll talk about that in a moment or two. But we ought to look back at the match on Saturday. Let's do that. The season so far, sponsored by the Dove in Ipswich. And actually, it was never really in any doubt, was it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, of course not.
It was as comfortable a last game of the season as I think we've ever had in that sort of circumstance. I mean, all the games we had, perhaps when Jim was here as a player, and those sort of last day, because it wasn't quite in our hands most of those occasions, and so it was very, very tense, very, very tense. But it started. I think the first goal that went in was Southampton scored against Leeds, didn't they? So that sort of. Sort of. I like the way that the sort of the news kind of filtered around the ground into a roar. It was
very quickly.
It was terrific, and then of course we scored, and actually Leeds scored to get one. But anyway, by half time it required a 4-goal turnaround, didn't it? So we all kind of by half time we really thought it was there, and then of course Amari scored another one, make it 2-0, and really we just spent the second half singing and chatting away, didn't we, really? And it was this comfortable sort of just waiting.
Which is unusual for us, isn't it?
Which is very unusual for us. Actually, the only thing I'd say is that we have this confidence in this team, and I think that perhaps I was thinking that perhaps the only kind of similarity I can remember was that playoff final. Because I think we all went into that playoff final thinking, well, now we've made it here, we're going to get through. Do you know what I mean? And I thought last week we had a bit of a wobble against Hull in a sense. I thought we should have won that game and we conceded quite late on. And then Tuesday night, that was a game we really desperately needed to win, didn't we, at Coventry? And they did the business again. And then Saturday, I think we had very little doubt that they would do the business. And, once again, they kind of...
the QPR Leeds result was...
Yeah, that was huge.
Was a big help.
Yeah,
absolutely huge.
Leeds are falling apart
Yeah.
again.
Leeds are falling apart
Again.
But it was just the second half was just a case of people kind of finding their spots where they could get over the hoardings and onto the pitch.
Yeah, that was always going to happen, wasn't it?
It was.
It was always going to happen.
Which was where you came in.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know.
Would you like to repeat what you said, or repeated what you repeated?
Well, in fairness to the club, we had a meeting on Friday night. I'm stadium announcer, Jim, so I had a bit of a job to do. And we had a meeting on Friday night, and they said to me, "What do you think is going to happen at the final whistle?" And I said, "What do you think?" They went, "Yeah, we know." And so, it was just going to happen, wasn't it? And we wanted it to be nice and peaceful and joyous, and give the fans 20 minutes, half an hour, the players chance to get off, and then they said, "Be polite in asking people to leave the pitch." Rather than just get off, it was, would you mind awfully? Would you mind going back to your seats?
You sounded so patient, I have to say. I say, yeah, if you'd like to go back to your seats now.
Yes.
But the club has a responsibility to make an effort to not allow a pitch invasion.
Yes, they do, which is why the stewards are all around.
And that's it.
Yeah, they made the effort, and it just didn't work. But then the stewards and the police created the bubble by the tunnel, and we gradually just moved everybody gently along with my wonderful.
What time was this?
Gentle
About
announcements.
6:30 or something.
Yeah, 3 hours after the final whistle.
But then you had the problem with the players, didn't you?
And then the players came on, and I'll be honest, they were supposed to come out of the tunnel and you know what it's like, Jim, herding cats. You were a manager and a captain. They were supposed to come out of the tunnel in squad order. It was never going to happen. And walk us along the side of the pitch, and then I would do the help with the medal presentation. Well, of course, as soon as they came on, they went straight for the fans, didn't they? And we lost them for another 20 minutes. And I spent the next 20 minutes saying, "Would the players please come back for the trophy?" Please. Which was great fun. Yeah. Great fun. But magnificent scenes, and it was just a joy. And to be right in the very heart of it, and was just magnificent. Yeah. And for all of us to have that at Portman Road as well. Yeah. Was just really special, wasn't it?
I could just see Jim leading the singing, though, on the pitch, on the buses.
Yeah.
Russell, do you know something, though? Honestly, see the day we got promoted, I had no idea there was a parade. I was sitting in the Gulf, and a guy came up and says, honestly, he said, "Jim, what are you doing?" I said, "What are you talking about, man? There's a parade." What parade? He said, "No, there is a parade. You've just been promoted." I said, "Nobody told me." Because I left the Suffolk tent, and I was quite joyous at that stage.
Trying to tell you something.
The parade?
Well, I'll tell you what. There were one or two players whose consumption was pretty good over the weekend, I think, and helped to drink those pubs dry. But fantastic scenes on Saturday, partying into the night, drinking pubs dry. It was just incredible, wasn't it?
I wonder if Harry Clark has made it home yet.
Yes. Yeah, good old Harry. He was really loving it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But fantastic. And then of course, we had the bus tour, which was, I think they were saying 50, 60,000 people.
55,000.
No way. I think that was 100,000 people. It just didn't. It looked more than that. It really did. It was absolutely huge.
It was huge. It was. I went down the park, and it was impossible to park anywhere.
Didn't you say who you were?
I know. I tried. There's a lot of these new fans that have come on board.
Okay.
They didn't know I was. No, it was phenomenal. I mean, miles more people than last year, and the bus was terrific, and the players were kind of entering into the spirit, and you can see the team's the spirit within the squad, can't you? When you have these events, the way that they're kind of taking the mickey out of one another and singing songs about each other.
Favourite comment was Wolfie talking about Don Goodman.
Yeah.
Who hasn't been particularly nice to us this season, has he? And the Sky guy said, what would make it better? He said, a minute's silence for Don Goodman. which I believe was cut out of the Sky. It was on the live feed, but cut out of the Sky Sports bit.
He called in to see me and Terry in the Premier Lounge before the game, just as he was making his way up to where they watched the game from, and he came in and said hello and everything, and he got his rucksack with all his books and sandwiches in and everything. And we said, after the game, Don, why don't you come in and have a quick drink with us? Never saw him.
No.
No, never saw him. He's a good lad, though, Don.
Yeah.
He knows nothing about football whatsoever.
Here, listen, he was in good company.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, Russell.
1-0.
But you know, Town just quietly went about their business, Jim, you know, and just didn't let anything bother them. Just, you know, one game at a time, that mantra. And that's, Kieran and the players have all said that this year, and that's been so true, hasn't it? One game at a time. And it must be so hard when you're, you know, going for such a big prize to act like that.
Yeah, and he's not calling anyone, and nor are the players, because of, and it's got even greater social media. Players would have been watching, they would have been listening. They become a little bit obsessed with it. Listen, if Kieran says he's done that 100%, and he has epitomized that, but in terms of the players, no. You know, as a player, you're watching, you're looking for any little thing that's going to give you an edge. So. Yeah, I'm not so much. I think Kieran definitely, but players no. They're not kidding.
Well, I did wonder how Luke would have heard what Don Goodman had been saying. So, you know, what do those pundits know? Hey, what do they know? But it was just fantastic, and the end of season dinner last night as well. Were you there, Russ, for that?
Yeah, I was there Monday night.
Monday night, yeah.
Yeah. Some friends of mine invited me along to their table, and I think they got home at about 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't. I left a couple of hours prior to that.
It's the kind of event, Jim, that you'd have been the last man standing at, isn't it?
Oh, I loved them. Honestly, I never wanted to go home. When the band stopped playing at Suffolk, I wasn't having any of it. Get back up here, no chance. I got the players up and they were singing away, and then the celebrations continued back in the Magilton household. I had my dad, my brother, friends, family, other family members. It was quality. Those nights you remember for the rest of your days. Russell will tell you he was in the mental group. You know, they still don't go home. You know, you've got Big Brazil and all, so he can tell you. Well, he'll have a few stories.
I mean, it's just amazing. Let's take you back to your promotion, because a lot of people have been looking at that and comparing the two. I mean, you had several goes at getting to Wembley, didn't you? Getting promoted. So close, yet so far. Were there times when you thought, actually, do you know what? Are we ever going to do this?
It was slightly easier for me because I'd come in obviously on the back of that 99-2000 season, wasn't it? And we lost in goal difference to Bolton. So I was more determined than the second year. So the second season, my first full season then, no, I wasn't having any of that. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about automatic promotion. When people talk about the playoff, and it is fantastic, but you want to go up automatically. You want to be sitting on a beach watching the playoff final. It's easy. Listen, it was fantastic to win a playoff final, but really, we kind of blew it not going up automatically.
It's interesting you say that, because Mark Ashton the other day, when he was asked about the playoffs, he said, "I'll leave that to that lot up the road." And we're all Leeds fans now, aren't we? You know, the wheels are back on the bus.
The other thing is it gives you a few more weeks, doesn't it? The club has got a few more weeks to prepare, start looking at players that they might look to sign before Leeds, whoever it is, comes up from. We'll be slightly ahead of the game, which obviously could benefit us.
But it was a fantastic day out, though, Jim, wasn't it? I mean, what a fantastic day out.
Yeah, sorry, Murphy. Like Saturday, it was red and blue, which brought me back to Wembley. Like the contrast in red and blue when you walked out at Wembley, which is, just a dream come true for any footballer, to come out and then to see. We came out and it was blue. It was just blue. And 50,000 Ipswich Towns fans. It was an incredible experience. But as I said to the players, and I used my experience as a player on Saturday to talk to the players, it's the game that matters most. You don't want to be sending this group of fantastic supporters home, crying their eyes out. You want to send them home happy. You want them sending them home delirious. That's the only thing that matters in a final, is winning it.
Yeah. That playoff final was the best game of football that I have ever enjoyed in my life at Wembley. You know, and I've seen lots of games and done a lot of punditry work over the years, but that day was something special. As a supporter on the day, it was magnificent.
It was great, but the playoff semi-final, Jim, the second leg,
well.
that was some game, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, but listen, the contrast, people obviously, they bring it up and it's wonderful, and I loved every second of that game. I actually loved the game itself. The fact that I scored a hat trick, yeah, but I loved the game. I just thought, we're not getting beat. We're just not going to get beat. But if you look at the magnificent contribution of all the players, and then there was the individual performance. If you look at Marcus in the first game at Bolton, his contribution. Okay, you can talk about my contribution, and then you talk about the final itself. You know, when you look back in the final, Barnsley were such a good team. There's so many experienced players, but then we had to deal with real disappointments. John will come off, and then Richard Naylor's performance in the final. Wow. So everybody made it. There were singular individual contributions, of course, but it was always about the collective.
How did you feel at the final whistle?
For the semi-final or the final?
Semi-final, knowing you were going to go there.
Do you know what? The pitch invasion, I actually found a yard of pace. They actually played it back. I ran. I was one of the first off the pitch.
No, now you are kidding, aren't you?
I am kidding. Mickey Stockwell this day brings it up. He says, I've never seen me move as quick in my life. I actually wanted off the pitch as quickly as I can. And the moment we get in the changing room, and to George's credit, it was always about the final. It was about the final and winning.
I remember talking to you before. You remember, and I remember you remembered the third goal in such detail. That was kind of what struck me as sort of an extraordinary thing.
Yeah, well, even now, it was gone to the wire. You know, it was going to the wire, and Vino gets it out of his left foot. I had a kind of a thought process of where it was going. I knew where Tony was, and I had a quick glance at where Tony was, and Fisher's marking Tony. I always knew, if you get it in that area, Tony Mowbray was going to win the header. And if you see the way Tony Mowbray he's arching his back, arching his neck, and I thought, if I can get around this, and I knew that first touch was going to be important. I knew where the goalkeeper was. Forget who the guy was in front of me. I used him as a kind of way of shield, and then just hit it. But the moment I hit it, I knew it was going into the net. And obviously, just delirium sets in. My celebration's horrendous. I hate my celebration to this day. It was ridiculously bad.
Can't do everything, Jim.
I say you're not used to scoring hat tricks, are you?
No, you're not. The last hat trick I scored was in primary 6. I think it was 8.
Fantastic. I mean, we've got some cracking goal celebrations now. George Hurst with his golf swing. We've got Omari with his backflip. I mean, there's quite a lot of effort goes into these now.
Yeah, I didn't practice, man, because I didn't score, man. No, listen, try and know how to celebrate. That's the thing. You know, it's the adulation. It's what the actual club mean to supporters. And that's what sometimes gets lost on players. And it's only on days like the days they've just had. They've been spoiled in terms of they've won promotion from League One. But to win promotion from the Championship into, let's be honest, it's the promised land. The Premier League is the promised land. And they've probably done it a little bit quicker than everybody anticipated. But Ipswich and Suffolk and the community and the ex-players, like the wonderful ex-players, they all share in the joy. This is not just, there's no real jealousy at all attached to this. I was so over the moon. It was, as I said, it was the first thing I had asked when I came off the pitch, having just won an Irish Cup final.
Brilliant.
So it's a collective. It always has been.
And you can remember what it did for the local area as well in 2000. You know, first year in the Premier League. You know, the whole place was alive, and I think it's that on steroids this time. I mean, some of our capacity crowd can remember. You know, in 2000 we went up, but it feels this time. It feels even more special if it can be. I don't know. There just seems to be more awareness, more fans involved than then. I mean, it's a fantastic thing for the area, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. It just took off. But I have to say, when I seen, even when the bus was coming in, the coach was coming in for the game, it felt Premier League. It felt like, wow. And then when you saw the parade, like, again, what Russell and his team achieved is beyond your wildest dreams. And I don't know if it was like that. I'm sure it was. And again, the comparisons will be such. But I have not, honestly, it is on a grander scale now.
There were similarities, of course. It was nice to see people on the bus shelters again.
Yes, yeah.
Up the lampposts.
Climbing the lampposts and stuff like that. But we had it, in the town centre, and there was bodies on every rooftop, on top of the bank, and health and safety would have gone absolutely berserk in those days. But, Mauner nearly dropped the UEFA Cup over the balcony, I think. So, yeah, it got a bit wild, but...
Was it right to do it in the park to get more people in?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't get enough people in and around the corn exchange so that they can see a few of the people come on the balcony separately. Mickey Mills came on, Mauner and Walkie came on, Beat came on, Hunter and stuff like that, sort of in twos and threes. When you can go en masse together, and you have two busloads of people to deal with, it gives everybody a chance to see everybody all at the same time. Yeah, very good.
And hats off to First Bus for wrapping those buses and turning them round, I think, within about 24 hours
yeah,
to get them all
very good.
Decorated up. Just amazing. And Jim, your scenes when you came back, what are your memories of that?
Just amazing. The A12 was just chock-a-block. Obviously, the bus was rocking. Our bus was rocking. There was so much fun and there was exhaustion. It takes so much mentally. Mentally, you're exhausted, and alcohol does help. I have to say, it's a fuel. But again, when you get into an enclosed environment with your family and people that mean so much, we didn't as such meet a lot of supporters on after the game as such, but the parade itself, as I say, I was just loving life with my family and I forgot all about it. Well, actually, I don't think anybody wanted me on the bus because I knew I'd hug it. To see, so it's the happiness it brings. It's incredible what football actually does. It was the same on Monday in Belfast for us. You have no idea how it affects people, and the actual joy, grown men crying their eyes out, thinking, the last time they were only nippers, they were only boys, and 45 years later they've won an Irish Cup, and the happiness it brings, it's madness, this game. That's why we love it so much.
I think that's the thing here this time around, is it's 22 years since we were last in the Premier League, and there's a whole generation that haven't seen Town in the Premier League.
Two generations, really.
Yeah, and players like Wolfie, I think, was he 24, 25? I mean, he was very young when we spoke to him about it, and he said he can't remember Town being in the Premier League, and Harry Clark the same. So yeah, it's a fantastic thing. It's kind of it's far too long to wait, I think.
Makes me feel old, Mark.
Well, yeah, not just you.
True. I've just had a big.
I remember
birthday,
'92, which Jim was there as well, of course, in '92 when Town won promotion, weren't you?
I certainly was. Yes, I scored. I scored for the Oxford.
Yeah.
And then, you're right, Murph. Crowd invasion that day as well.
Yeah.
All them Ipswich supporters got on the pitch.
Anybody there on that day?
Me.
I was. Yeah, I was on the pitch. Sorry, Jim.
Yeah,
but
that's all right.
It was fantastic.
That's okay. Kawamya and Dazelle, they loved it. They loved rubbing it into me all the time, every time. Oh, you were in that Oxford team that just handed over that trophy to us, didn't you?
Got that in my book.
Yes. I mean, you had a lovely time at Town. I mean, you had a good bunch around you, didn't you, as well, when you were playing there?
Oh yeah, we had a mixture. There was a lunatic squad, and then there was a sensible squad, and then there was.
Which one were you in?
The
I thought I'd better
squad.
ask.
What's that?
Well, I just wondered which one you were in. I thought I'd better ask.
No, listen, they were a fantastic bunch bunch of players. George had assembled a really good team. There was a lot of thought gone into it, and they were a brilliant bunch. We knew how to socialize, but we also knew how to be serious when it mattered most. And yeah, it was a fantastic time to be a part of the club.
You told me once that when you joined the club, because you joined on loan initially, didn't you, from Sheffield Wednesday?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you said to me you thought you stepped the level of training up with the rest of the players.
Yeah, well, I just thought, well, some of the players have remarked on that. And I was used to playing at maybe a different intensity because I was playing with top-class players at Sheffield Wednesday. And I came in, I just thought everyone was just little bit lethargic, and everyone was just a little bit too casual. And they soon realised, probably after day one, that's not how I trained, or that's not what I expected or accepted. And I think because George obviously was in a fantastic group of players who wouldn't have accepted poor standards, and I know Sir Bobby, and I know George didn't either. But I just kind of went, no, I'm not having it. If we want to get promoted, we have to train at a different level, different tempo, and different standards, and put demands on each other. That's the only way you're going to get better. And collectively, they did. Individually, they did, and then collectively, there was definitely an upturn in that.
Yeah, and Jim, I had exactly the same thing happen to me when I moved from Ipswich to Leicester City back in 1985.
Yeah.
First week's training, and I'd met the Leicester players for the first time, and their attitude was, well, we didn't have a very good season last year, but usually we get a few decent results before Christmas, in time for a bit of a bonus to cover the Christmas presents.
Right, okay.
And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, you know what?
Yeah.
And I had quite a nice car at the time, but I didn't take that down the football club. I didn't want to create the wrong first impression. So the next day, I've come in sideways down the drive, and they've gone, wow, how do you afford a car like that? I said, by winning games of football from the first game of the season. And you win your bonuses, you put the money in your back pocket, you save a bit, and you have a good time. But it all comes from having the right attitude about winning every game you're playing. And their attitude stunk to
I don't know many. Yeah, Russ, I don't know many people that have a switch. It's amazing. Like, if you want to train badly, then you'll play badly. There aren't many players that have a switch. Probably two of them are still playing, and Ronaldo and Messi. That's probably why they're billionaires.
Yeah.
But there is no switch. If you're gonna, you train as you play as you train, because standards have to be accepted and they have to be signed off on. And if you think you can be sloppy and lazy in training, then you'll bring that onto the pitch. And that's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable.
Not at all.
What advice, or what do you think the management team at Ipswich need to be thinking about now they're making this big step up? They will have been thinking about it. They will have been preparing for it. I think there were, 2 lists: Championship team, Premiership team. What sort of advice would you give them?
Listen, they're going to have to spend their money wisely. I think experience, there's no substitute for experience. Phil will probably, I remember Herman coming in, Phil and Chris Makinine came in as well. Phil will probably give you a greater detail of who came in.
John Scales was another one that came in that summer, wasn't he? I know he didn't play that much, but that was the kind of what George was aiming for.
Yeah, you need experience in the league, because it's going to be very, very difficult. Let's make no bones about it. I'm not putting a dampener on anything. The players will love the challenge. They'll raise the challenge, but quality and experience you're going to need. Because if you look at the league now, you look at your Sheffield United, you look at Luton, and it's very difficult, and it's proven very difficult. It's not like back in the day where you might get away with it. But now you'll get found out if you don't have that right quality and right experience. In certain areas, obviously in certain vital areas, the pitch, spending your team is going to be very important.
And perhaps harder for Town because the squad was put together in League One only 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So there was no... I would imagine that Kieran had a mind on, dealing with the Championship football. Now, credit has to go to the players too, because they've risen to that challenge. And they've looked very, very comfortable. And again, Kieran's made really crucial signings. Kiefer Moore, I think, coming in was a really crucial signing. Amari Hutchinson's been a magnificent player. And they're going to be looking for loan deals, because Sarmiento as well, boy from Brighton, thinks he's a really good player. And it's made differences coming off the bench. So loan signings are going to be crucial, but experience and quality is what you're gonna need to stay in the league.
I think you can see from the sides around us at the top of the table, Leicester City, Leeds United,
Yeah.
Southampton. You can take some of the players out of those squads and say, crikey, they are proper Premier League players that they've managed to hold on to. And that's what we're going to have to match, at least, when we go up. Well, we
That's
are.
right.
Yeah. So not much of a rest then for the management team then at Portman Road. They'll be cracking on.
Yeah, I think Kieran will be working now. Kieran will be working overtime. Get as much as you want to break, and I haven't been off the phone all day trying to attract players to our club, and Kieran will be the same. Now he will get a break and he will go away, and he will try and switch off. But it's crazy, and the market now it's worldwide now. The market, it's not just related to maybe the British Isles or wherever, it's worldwide, and there'll be agents constantly ringing. And that's where you have to be very careful and you have to be very strategic in the type of people you want to bring in, because character, you don't want to, we had a wonderful feeling in our camp, and characters are important. And when you're recruiting, you want to know exactly who you're recruiting, what sort of personality, what sort of character, and what sort of quality. It has to enhance the squad.
I'm in talking to the team there. That is exactly what they're doing, isn't it? They're spending an inordinate amount of time trying to find the right person to come in who believes in the club, who believes in the community, and understands the ethos of the club. And if they're not like that, then they won't get signed. So
we had Mark Ashton talking about that on the show, didn't we, before Christmas?
Yeah,
but and you meet the squad. I mean, we interview them every week in press conferences. And they're a decent bunch, and they care about the club, and which may not have been the case a few years ago with one or two players, and you're sort of thinking, why are you here? Do you know what I mean? What their motivation is. But yeah, Jim's squad and the squad that played for Jim as well, I think, when he was manager, were all genuine characters who had the kind of best thoughts of the club.
So recruitment's going to be crucial then, Jim.
It really is, yeah. I always thought, if I can get a player down to Ipswich, if I can get him to the training ground, if I can get him walking down the stadium, I'm more than halfway there. And when I get an opportunity then to test his character, and it's amazing when you ask the player what's your strengths, what are you good at? Some fumble their way through it. Well, if you don't know your strengths, why are we even considering you? Tell me what you're good at.
Yeah.
And that's important. And what can you add to the group? Tell me how you can improve the group. And don't be shy about it. Just tell me how you're going to improve this, because now they're going into the Premier League. So they're going to have to be better than the current group. And the current group obviously are aware of what it's going to take to play in the Premier League. So whilst they'll be going away and enjoying themselves now, quite rightly so, their thoughts will turn very quickly, especially when the fixtures come out. The fixtures are the greatest and the worst day of your life.
Yeah.
Man United's second game, wasn't it, with you?
Yeah, it was, and it was a magnificent occasion. Sir Alex pointed out what a fantastic night it was, and we played really well. We stood up, and we were our quality that night was fantastic, and we gave them a game. We really did, and that kind of way gave us all confidence. And it's really important that if you get a game like that, especially early on, and you manage to go, it's a good game to get early on, because you can't make them really that angry. So if you can get a game and you get a result, very important.
Well, yeah, I hadn't thought about the fixtures, but my stomach's just gone butterflies again when you mentioned that. The mere prospect of it, the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Man Cities coming here. Of course, you had that Russell the Wild, didn't you?
Yeah, but we were fortunate. I grew up in that environment, so it was nothing different really. It was like week in, week out for us. But it'd be great, to get that first real big fixture back at Portman Road, won't it? That'll be some occasion. That will really send the crowd rocking again.
Amazing. And of course, Phil, people have been pledging to have tattoos done, haven't they?
Yeah, well, we spoke about this last week, didn't we? Brett Johnson, from the Three Lions, he's pledged to have a tattoo. Mark Ashton, I said on this very show that we'd have a tattoo, and I think that's all kind of planned. And I was reading a report today that tattooists are very busy in town. And I'm sure that will
Carl
carry on.
Fuller's here. Carl writes a column for the East Anglian Daily Times, The Fuller Flavour. He's also the author of Game Changer, which is a fabulous book, and he's about to bring out Game Changer, the sequel, part 2, the follow-on. Get a bit Premier Edition. Get right up close to that microphone, and just you promised a tattoo as well, didn't you?
Yeah, start of this season, a friend of mine said we'll get promoted this year, and I thought he was having a laugh, and I said, if that happens, I'll get it tattooed or a tattoo. And he said, what are you going to get? And I did say, I'll get Kieran McKenna's face tattooed on my... but my wife talked me out of that.
On your butt, did you say?
Yeah, somewhere around that region. So...
There's plenty of room.
So my group said, well, if you're getting something, we'll get something. So the running towards adversity in our shirt, we're all getting that done.
Oh,
nice one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
one.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very good.
So,
And get a quick plug in for your next book. Go on while you're here.
yeah, so the Game Changers, Premier Edition. It's practically written. The one that Russell's holding there is a story of last season's promotion, which I cobbled together when the season finished.
I like that, cobbled.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice one.
And the one that's coming out hopefully about the end of May time, I wrote as the season went along, thinking I'm probably wasting my time here, but you know, I just thought if I can keep the story going as the players did, then that can come out pretty much straight away.
Brilliant.
So just waiting on a foreword to be written by somebody that I won't name at the moment. Brad Lloyd of Glory Days Artwork is doing the cover as we speak. So yeah, that will be out in
Premier
about 4 or 5
edition.
weeks. Yeah, the
Sounds
Premier
great,
edition.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Will you come back and show us your tattoo next season?
Yeah, certainly will. Yeah, depending where I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I already have an Ipswich tattoo, but I'd have to drop my trousers to show you that.
No, it's okay. That's
Yeah,
okay. We'll
We would
take
be
your word
running
for it.
away from adversity then.
Yeah.
We might not. It's, I was going to say there's a box we have to tick, isn't there?
Yes, I think so. Yeah,
I
yeah,
did
we got-
ask Kieran, by the way, whether he was going to have a tattoo if we got promoted, and he said no ink going on me, or something like that.
What about you, Jim? Have you got one after your victory at the weekend?
Not a chance. No way. No needles for me.
No,
Not
good
a
man.
chance. Not brave enough.
Me
Mark-
neither. Anybody
Mark.
else going to get one?
Mark, you said last week you're scared of needles.
I did.
I'm scared of needles, and the one I've got didn't hurt, so I think you should do it.
Challenge.
There's a challenge.
I'll hold your hand.
Thanks. Let me think about that, Carl. Yes, Carl, everybody.
Yeah.
Go on, get off.
His last appearance on the show.
Get off. Oh, dear, my goodness. Jim, I'm reminded of a moment. I don't know if you can remember this, but I used to be a reporter at BBC Radio Suffolk many years ago, for those who don't know. And there was one season when I was a sports reporter, and we used to have to come up to the training ground and do the interviews up there. And it was my first go at the training ground to do these interviews, and they said, "You're going to interview Jim Magilton." So I said, "Oh, fantastic, lovely, brilliant." So I drive up to the training ground. I said, "I've come to see Jim," and they said, "Oh, he's around here somewhere." And I hunted absolutely high and low for Jim Magilton, who was hiding in a cupboard.
Was I?
You were.
I think George was looking for me as well.
But they were great days. They were fantastic days. And you know, we loved you as a player. We loved you as a manager. And, you know, we love having you back here whenever we get the chance. So are you planning on taking a trip to come and see us in the Premier?
Yeah, I definitely am. I'm sorry I couldn't get over this year. But games, the moment I have a spare Saturday and wherever you are, I'll be there to watch 100%.
Fantastic.
It's a very, very special place. Means the world to me.
Yeah, well, we love his bits. Don't go away. But for now, Jim Magilton, everybody. I'm Jim. Come back to you in a bit, Jim.
No probs.
It is time. Well, actually, it would normally be time for our Keep It Up challenge, sponsored by Ginger Pickle. So let's do the slide. Unfortunately, Jim is in Northern Ireland, so can't do the Keep It Up challenge. And I don't know, can we get a camera, Richard, onto the Keep It Up challenge area, which we've had to open up another stand tonight.
Because
So-
Mark can't count.
So, yeah, I couldn't count how many people were coming. So, hello, extra fans. over in the corner there. That's the second stand. But the good news is, over the summer, we are going to be knocking that wall down over there, so we'll be able to get more fans in here every week. And we've got big plans. It's going to be live on a Wednesday night next season. We've got lots of plans for Life's a Premier pitch next season, which we're looking forward to. So, look, we can't do the Keep It Up challenge, but I do have a very special job to do, because all season, above my head has been a dead canary. I don't know if you can see this, Jim, or not on your screen, but we've had this above my head all season, and it's gradually got deflated and deflated and deflated during the course of the season. But tonight, we decided we'd blow it up. And I actually don't know if this is going to work, but I have got a little nail, and I'm just hoping that I can burst the canary's season. Shall I do this? Yay! Jim, you have happy memories of Norwich games, don't you?
5-0.
Shall we try this?
You're not going shopping in Norwich.
Oh, no, I never go.
Yeah. This is about as...
Oh, it's gone in. No, it's gone in. Playoffs. Hey, fantastic. Brilliant. Do you remember those derby games, Jim?
I do indeed. It was always a massive challenge, wasn't it? And it was always. I thought they were going to be a slightly more facier than where I wanted them to be, which would have been even greater. But no, I always enjoyed beating them.
Yeah, and that's always a fantastic thing to happen. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't have a local derby next season. I spoke to someone today who said, wouldn't it be nice if both teams were in the Premier League? Wouldn't it be good for East Anglia?
Maybe in about
Murph,
5 or 6 years' time.
the only thing is you could be guaranteed 6 points.
Oh, that's a good point. Top man.
This is true. I want teams that are going to come up that have got dodgy financial records and going to get docked points next season.
Fingers crossed. Anyway, don't forget to check out our website, www.lifesapitch.tv. Unfortunately, the tickets have all sold out for our end-of-season dinner, which is coming up at Venue 16. We've got our own... we're going to do the show, special guest Alan Brazil next week. And then we're going to do a second show straight after that, the Life's a Pitch TV annual awards ceremony. So we've got lots of awards to hand out, and we've got lots of people who have been on this sofa joining us as well. So there'll be a lot of Town fans happy on Monday. So there'll be 2 shows to watch next week on YouTube and to listen to on podcast, and they'll be available from Tuesday next week. So they'll just give us a bit of time to get them up and ready. And you can also buy your merch on the website as well. T-shirts, mugs, all sorts of things. And we'll have some of those at our show. Lifesapitch.tv is where you go for all of that. Now, do we have any ITFC news?
Yes, I've got some news.
Should we have some news, Phil? Brought to you in association with John Keeble Cars of Bramford.
We at least need a sponsored hat, don't I, really? With the John Keeble card. Well, Leif Davis was named the Town's Men's Players Player of the Year at Monday night's end-of-season dinner at Venue 16. Davis was joined on stage by his teammates as he accepted the award before briefly singing in the style of Elvis Presley.
Is that what you called it?
I think so. I think that's what he suggested, wasn't it? And I was quite impressed, actually. The left-back, who achieved the new championship record of assists for a defender of 18, had previously been named in the EFL's championship team of the season. The Women's Players Player of the Year was Sophie Pescott, who also won the Supporters Club's Player of the Year award, which was announced at the Middlesbrough match. Sam Morsey had won the men's award, while for the Supporters Club, and Finn Barbrook had previously been confirmed as the Academy Player of the Year. Amari Hutchinson was named the Young Player of the Year, while Harry Clark, once he'd been found, I think, and Kyra Robertson were given the Philip Hope Cobbold Award, which is given to players who go above and beyond when representing the club in the community. Hutchinson is reported to already be back at Chelsea, or being called back to Chelsea. The 20-year-old enjoyed a hugely successful season on loan with the Blues, netting 11 times in his first full season in senior football. According to The Athletic, Chelsea have told the Jamaica international that they want him back at the club next week in order to run the rule over him in training and hold talks regarding his future. Town fans and manager Kieran McKenna, who said that at the dinner that when he was asked what he wanted for his birthday, he said Amari, have made it clear that they want him back at Portman Road next season on loan, I think, while the player himself was non-committal when asked following Saturday's match, although previously he had said he'd welcome a return to Portman Road on loan next season. Other clubs at home and elsewhere in Europe are also said to have expressed an interest in loaning Hutchinson, who has a year left on his Chelsea contract, but with reports that the club has an option for a further season. Reports last week claimed that they were looking to offer him new terms, though it's thought that talks for a new deal are yet to take place. And it's also understood that Chelsea will need to sell players over the summer to comply with the Premier League's financial fair play rules. Whether Hutchinson, who's believed to be valued at around £20 million, is among them remains to be seen, with a number of Europe's big clubs having previously been linked with his spell at Town having been keenly watched. But as it stands, the former Arsenal Academy player is expected to go on Chelsea's pre-season tour to the US in July, with decisions on his future likely to be made after that. Town are only able to bring two players in on loan in the Premier League, which will give Kieran McKenna some tough decisions. Speaking after Saturday's game, he said he'd like to keep some of this season's loan players at the club. Fellow forward Jeremy Sarmiento impressed during his half-season spell from Brighton, and at the time he joined in January, it was reported in Ecuador that the loan switch could be extended into a second season. So there's plenty to think about there. Town forward Shawnee Aluko hung up his boots at the age of 35. He announced at the dinner. Aluko joined the Blues in the summer of 2021 on a free transfer after leaving Reading. The Nigeria international made 33 starts and 29 sub-appearances during his 3 seasons with the Blues, scoring 4 goals, but made only 2 starts and 5 sub-appearances from the bench during 23-24. But I think his contribution was kind of as a member of the leadership group and as an experienced member of the squad, so kind of went beyond his role on the pitch. He spent much of this season watching games with the analysts and providing insights to manager McKenna. It's expected that he'll stay with the club in some capacity. And Town's average home league attendance during 2023-24 was the highest in the club's history, breaking a 47-year-old record. The Blues' average crowd at Portman Road as they won promotion after 22 years away from the Premier League was 28,845. The previous best was 26,674 during the 1976-77 First Division campaign, in which Town finished 3rd in the table and qualified for the UEFA Cup. This was among the facts in the new edition of Dan Botton's Ipswich Town Miscellany, which is due to be published on August 24th. Dan also had another edition of his other book, Ipswich Town on This Day, which Russell reads from every week and will do in a moment, published on the same day. And I think Terry's writing a foreword for one and you're writing a foreword for the other, aren't you?
Don't know.
You are. Well, you are. Well,
What,
Dan
on this
thinks you are. That's the news at length. And if you want to pre-order Dan's books, there's a link on the
TWTD.
similar sort of story about the crowd numbers. But it's very impressive, isn't it? The highest league crowd.
No, it's great. It's fantastic. And the clamour for tickets is going to be immense.
Oh, I know. I mean, how many tickets could they sell for next? There's going to be very few tickets available next year because obviously we've got 20,000, something like that, season ticket holders. And then you have to have 3,000 away tickets. So that's, and the capacity is probably going to be 29,000. Probably reduced a little bit because of, where for security and all those kind of reasons. So, it's going to be very difficult to get matchday tickets next year.
Well, what a nice problem to have.
Well, I know. It's
What
a
a nice
problem we didn't have a few
to
years ago. Yeah.
No, we didn't. No. Who was there when we were rubbish?
Who went to Stockport game? That Stockport game with about 7,000 there in the 90s. Yeah.
Yes, never mind. But it's lovely that everybody's getting involved. I mean, it is fantastic. Let's take a look at what's happened on this day in the past. It's brought to you in association with our friends at Fred Olsen Logistics.
Well, thank you, Fred Olsen Logistics. And first of all, I'm going to just nip back one day previously to what we should be on. So I'm going to look at something from the 7th of May, 1964. And apparently somebody was born on this day. They're sitting very close to me. So, Mark, can you do the honours and cut your cake, please? To you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Merv. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Do I get my bus pass now?
I believe so, yeah. Not the only one to have a birthday, though, is he?
Jim Magilton's birthday this week. I think he deserves a little song as well.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jim. Happy birthday to you.
And
I don't
Jim,
even want to think about it.
and Jim, it's May the 6th, your birthday, isn't it? The day that Town won the FA Cup on your 9th birthday. Do you have memories of that?
That's right. I watched the game, Roger Osborne. Yeah, I never missed, even as a young boy, I never missed the cup final. I absolutely loved it.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Right, getting back to on this day.
Sorry.
The 8th of May. The first entry here goes back all the way to 1939. So I don't suppose anybody here was at the game. First Division Aston Villa defeated Town 3-2 in the Ipswich Hospital Cup. Do you remember that, Phil?
No.
No, it was in front of a crowd of 20,000 people, which raised £1,200 for the East Suffolk and Ipswich Hospital. Villa's Scottish international, Frank O'Donnell, netted a 5-minute hat-trick. There you go.
It's all about Irishmen scoring hat-tricks on this show, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. And on this day, Saturday, the 8th of May, 1976, we're going Irish again here. Genial midfielder Pat Sharkey won his only Northern Ireland cap in a 3-0 Glasgow drubbing of Scotland.
Hey.
How do you love that?
He was one of the Beats' bestest buddies,
Yeah.
Pat Sharkey.
And
wasn't he?
drinking partners, yeah,
Drinking
great
partners,
lad.
There's a
yeah.
story
was-
about
yeah.
that he, because it was in Glasgow, wasn't it? He said, and I think he got the train all the way straight down and met Beat in the first floor club. And Beat walks in, and there's Pat Sharkey dancing on the dance floor, still in his Northern Ireland shirt.
No, it would be Pat. That's Sharky. He was a great lad. Great fella. And that's all that happened on this day, the 8th of May.
Well, I've got one of our capacity crowders brought me this poster in here, which, Jim, you'll remember. If I can just open this up, if you can get the end of that. This is Ipswich Town versus Walsall, Portman Road, 7th of May, 2000. Attendance 21,898. Signatures on here: Burley, Clapham, McGreal, Mowbray, Sean Fryers, Fabian Wilness, Martin Roycer, Wayne Brown, Matt Holland, Richard Wright, David Johnson, Richard Naylor, Dale Roberts, James Scowcroft, Titus Bramble, Marcus Stewart, Manuel Thetis, Gary Croft, Mark Venus, Jermaine Wright, and one Jim Magilton. So we'll hold that up, Jim. Look, memories of you back at Portman Road. Look, look at that.
Fantastic. Jono scored, and we were going up at that stage. Man City, I think, were at Blackburn. And I remember Jono's celebration. He was going ballistic.
Yeah, he ran to the halfway line to hug the staff, didn't he? Yeah.
He did.
Great days.
Great memories.
Great days. Jim, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. We've got one thing to do before we finish, and that's the Man v Fat football results. We've got some walking footballers in here tonight, haven't we? Where are you, walking footballers? Not many. Good to see you. We've got some Man v Fat news. So these are the guys that on a Friday night are at Portman Road playing football and losing weight. No league games this week as players were put into new teams for the current season, so they played some friendlies. Our new team names for the season are, and please, Mark, say one of them carefully.
Aye, aye.
Yeah, I have.
That box is going to be ticked this week, isn't it?
It would have to be. So these are the new teams to look out for. The Red Hot Chubby Fellas. Ivory Toast. It's all right, I'll wait for it. Don't worry, we're here all night.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Wickham Waddlers. This is the one. The Red Cat Funts. Galatasaray. And Borussia Mönchengladbachs. Well done to the guys who played 11-a-side at Colchester United on Monday. It raised £120 for Cancer Support Suffolk, which is one of our chosen charities. And best wishes to Ashley Page as he qualified for our amazing losers match at the Den with Terry Butcher as his manager. Looking forward to the Premier League next season, says Man v Fat Mark. And can I just say thanks to everybody who put money in the Cancer Support Suffolk buckets outside Portman Road on Saturday. We raised just shy of £1,000. So that's brilliant.
Lovely. Well done.
We are out of time. We have one more Life's a Pitch Premier League show to do this season. But for now, Jim Magilton, you have been amazing as always. You are welcome on this show and in this town whenever you want.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's fantastic. And I can't tell you how much I'm proud I am of everything. Well done.
Super Jim! Super Jim! Super Jim! Super Jim Magilton!
What do you want to say to the fans,
Brilliant.
Jim, before you go?
Just listen, you give me the best days of my football life, greatest memories. I loved every second of it. Thank you very much. Enjoy next season, no matter what it brings. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you stay in the league. We stay in the league. But just enjoy it. They're the best days of your life.
Well done,
Jim, thank you.
Jim, cheers.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Nice to speak to you.
Take it easy.
Top man. Super
Bye.
Jim Magilton. Brilliant. Next week, our show is coming from the Willow Suite at Venue 16. We've got a traditional show like this in the big room with Alan Brazil as our guest. And then we're going to do a second show, and that will be our awards ceremony. They'll be available to watch and listen to Tuesday next week. And then over the summer, we'll be remodelling this studio to make even more room for the capacity crowd. So it's going to be bigger. We're going to have something slightly different instead of the Keep It Up Challenge. So we're going to have something in the DPS Tech Arena, which will be just over here. So there'll be some changes
Tech
next season.
Arena.
And we're looking forward to being in the Premier League. Thank you to Capacity Crowd, and big thanks to our main sponsors, DPS Tech, also supported by All About Hearing, marketing company Ginger Pickle, Forward Floors, Come Hither Design, the Hudson Group, Sound 4 Pro Audio, Fred Olsen Logistics, John Keeble Cars in Bramford, the Dove in St Helens Street in Ipswich, Ashford Wright, plus DPS Tech do sponsor the sofa. From all of the team, fantastic news this weekend. What a fantastic weekend we've had. What a great summer we're going to have looking ahead to life in the Premier League, everybody! We are Premier League. Say we are Premier League.
We are Premier League. We are Premier League.
We are Premier League. Say we are Premier League. We are Premier League. Say we are Premier League.
We are Premier League.